So, Priest is another one of those great comic book movies. Started out as a graphic novel, and someone said, let's do this as a movie. Mm-hmm. The plot is one of those, in the future, vampires have been real since the beginning of time, and man's been warring them. So like they had all this World War II footage of them fighting vampires instead of Nazis. But it's, in the future, they've won the war against the vampires, yet they live in a secluded Judge Dredd kind of city out in the middle of the desert and are ruled by an overbearing, ultra-conservative super religion. Mm-hmm. And they have a priesthood, which is the ultimate warriors that fight the vampires, because the vampires are these super fast werewolf creature things that aren't really vampires, but we'll get to that later.
A little bit more like aliens.
Yeah. So these guys are trained to fight the vampires, and now that the vampire war is over, they've got nothing to do but sit around and get neglected and get day jobs. Paul Bettany is the lead priest in this, and his brother, who is actually the guy from True Blood, which is kind of ironic. His family's killed by vampires, and his niece? A girl is kidnapped, and it's one of his precious family members, so he breaks out of retirement of priesthood and goes to go hunt the vampires to save the family member. And at some point in time, there's a best friend that gets rediscovered, and the church gets angry with him. So, as much as the reveal that I have given with what I think of this movie, because I could care less about the plot, obviously, this movie is another Scott Stewart crap fest. Oh my goodness!
Now let's preface this by saying that your least favorite movie last year was his directorial debut, Legion. And how does this fare against Legion?
Slightly better. He's improving. Legion got the big ol' F-bomb. I'm going to give this one the D-. First of all, we got bad acting. We got a terrible plot. We got a plot that forgets itself halfway through. I mean, they create this big kind of, the super religion plot is kind of there, like, the equilibrium, the 1984 fight the overpowering man. And the movie ends before they don't even bring it back up. It's like, here's this great, huge plot point, and we'll forget about it.
Yeah.
More important to fight these vampires. The vampires aren't even vampires. In fact, the familiars, who are just these really creepy guys that want to become vampires, are more vampire-like than the actual vampires. The vampires are like these weird, four-legged, eyeless alien creatures that roar.
Gigantic snake fangs. Yeah.
All the surprise moments and stuff are like, I swear they just take the same footage and just, like, we filmed the one surprise shot, so let's just repeat it. Vampire jumps out of the dark. Vampire jumps out of the dark again. Vampire jumps out of the dark again. 2 vampires jump out of the dark. Same thing over and over. Let's see what else I got. It's got this weird sci-fi meets Old West thing, like trying to be like, we're just like cowboys and aliens. Yay, no. No, you're not. You gave some guy with glowy eyes and fangs a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And then you put really cool Matrix super cycles in there or something.
Yeah.
The fight scenes aren't even that interesting. Like, they aren't, you think of, like, even the lightsaber duels from Star Wars were better choreographed than the fight scenes here. You think we have better idea of what a fight scene should be like nowadays. So
he's one of those directors, sort of like Snyder, who thinks that he, no matter how crappy his fight sequences are, he can fix it up in editing.
Yeah. So awful movie, but better than Legion. So I did an F-bomb it.
Yeah, it is better than Legion, but most things in the world are. I thought that this at least had a budget, in that was made it better than Legion. I thought the set design was kind of nice, and the cinematography at times was all right. My biggest problem with the movie is that it just takes itself so damn seriously. It just thinks it's so cool, and there's not a shred of irony or a shred of silliness in this movie, and the whole thing is just. I think if I was 12 years old, this would have been my favorite movie ever. It feels like it was made by a 12-year-old. It feels like fan fiction, 8th grade, kitchen sink, throw every fanboy kind of thing in there. We got a little bit of Blade Runner, a little bit of Star Wars, a little bit of Mad Max, and then a little bit of Underworld. And that's basically what you have here is just a big mishmash of other stuff that was cool and done better, minus any of the thought or social commentary that any of those things had. So, and Paul Bettany, does he have a debt problem? I don't know what he's doing in these movies. He's a much better actor than these movies. And the only performance really I liked was Karl Urban as the main bad guy, Black Hat, who seems to be the only person who knew what kind of movie he was in, and he sort of hammed it up on purpose, I think. But everybody else was completely wooden, and I give it a D+ just because, like I said, some of the visuals are sort of nice, but it's empty calories to say the least. And Scott Charles Stewart is really making a name for himself as being one of the biggest hacks in Hollywood. He's giving Zack Snyder and Paul W. Sanderson a run for their money.
There you go. Have you seen his IMDb photo? Oh my goodness, that guy is...
It looks like the guy who made those movies.
It does. It's just, he's all posing and it's all... Like 90% of IMDb movies are like these random screenshots,
Yeah.
These random photos of the people.